And picture this. It's a Tuesday night in mid-November. Manhattan is draped in that cold, unforgiving gray mist that makes you want to curl up with a glass of Bordeaux and a worn-out copy of James Baldwin. Yeah, but there I was, squeezed into a vintage suit that felt 3 sizes too small because of the sheer anxiety tightening my chest. I had spent 2 hours on my hair and another hour rehearsing a smile I didn't feel. Why? Because a certain important social circle expected me at a gala I couldn't care less about. I was exhausted, my soul was bone dry, but the good girl inside me, that relentless whispering ghost, kept saying, "You can't let them down. What will they think if you're not there?" And the cab pulled up near Fifth Avenue, and the rain started coming down in sheets. As I stepped out, trying to maintain some semblance of grace, my right heel found the perfect gap in a drainage grate. As snap, that unmistakable sound of expensive Italian craftsmanship surrendering to the pavement. And there I stood, 1 foot in a freezing puddle, lopsided, mascara starting to run, looking at the glowing lights of a ballroom filled with people I didn't even like. And in that moment, as the wind whipped through my silk, a thought hit me like a physical blow. Who am I doing this for? I realized I was bleeding my time and my sanity just to be agreeable to people who wouldn't even notice if I disappeared tomorrow. Listen to me, honey. This isn't just about a broken shoe. It's about the moment I realized that being a good girl was actually a slow-acting poison for my life. Looking back at that lopsided woman in the rain, I see so many of you. We are raised on a diet of gold stars and good girl stickers. From the moment we can walk, we are taught that our value is directly proportional to how little trouble we cause for others. It's a psychological prison, honey. We become experts at reading the room before we even know how to read our own hearts. And we think that if we are kind enough, selfless enough, and accommodating enough, the world will finally give us the safety and love we crave. But here is the hard truth. When you spend your life trying to be the person everyone else wants, you eventually wake up and realize you've become a stranger to yourself. This people-pleaser syndrome isn't just a personality trait. It's a survival mechanism that has outlived its usefulness. We crave that external validation because we are terrified of the alternative, the silence of being alone, or the noise of someone else's disapproval. And we act like we are being nice, but let's be honest for a second. Is it really kindness if you're doing it out of fear? When you say yes to that extra project at work or that dinner invitation you dread, you aren't being a saint, and you are being a martyr for a cause that doesn't exist. You've been programmed to seek that gold star from people who are too busy looking for their own stars to even notice your sacrifice. Wake up, sweetie. That validation you're hunting for is a mirage. The more you chase it, the thirstier you get, and the further you wander from your own oasis. There's a hidden tax on every yes that should have been a no. I call it the resentment burn. And you see, when you force yourself to be the good one, you aren't actually getting rid of your needs or your frustrations. You're just burying them alive. And trust me, honey, anything you bury alive eventually grows into a monster. I remember a friend. Let's call her Elena. Elena was the reliable one. She was the one who would move your entire apartment on a Sunday morning and bake the cupcakes for your party, all while her own life was falling apart. Everyone loved Elena. Or rather, they loved what Elena did for them. But behind closed doors, Elena was a volcano of bitterness. She would tell me, "I do everything for them, and nobody ever asks how I'm doing." That's the trap. When you train people that you have no boundaries, they don't think you're a saint. They think you're a doormat. And nobody respects a doormat. They just wipe their feet and move on. And by trying to buy love with favors, Elena was actually poisoning her genuine relationships. She wasn't being authentic. She was performing. And her kindness had strings attached, an invisible ledger where she tracked every sacrifice, waiting for a payment that would never come. This is the high cost of a free favor. You lose the ability to have a real connection because you're too busy playing a role. Your friends don't know you. They just know the version of you that never says no. And that, honey, is the loneliest place in the world. I once heard a saying that changed my entire perspective. If you want to make everyone happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. And think about that for a second. An ice cream vendor has a flavor for everyone, and their only goal is to provide a momentary sugary distraction. But you, honey, you are not a product. You are not a scoop of vanilla intended to be consumed and enjoyed by the masses. You are a human being with a limited amount of time, energy, and spirit. When you try to please everyone, you end up diluting yourself until there's nothing left but a flavorless puddle. Look, the reality is that being a person with depth means you will inevitably be too much for some and not enough for others. And that's not just okay, it's necessary. If everyone likes you, it usually means you haven't stood for anything in your entire life. You've spent so much time pivoting to match the light of others that you've forgotten your own color. In the world of business and relationships, being agreeable is often just a polite way of saying you're invisible. People don't hire utility humans for their brilliance. They hire them because they're easy to manage. But you weren't born to be managed. You weren't born to be a tool in someone else's kit. It's time to stop being an ice cream shop and start being a fortress. A fortress has walls, it has gates, and it definitely has people it keeps out. And transitioning from being a utility to a human being means accepting that you might be a bitter pill to some and a rare vintage to others. Stop trying to be the flavor of the month for people who don't even have taste. I'll never forget the first time I said a truly unreasonable no. I was being asked to chair a committee for a local charity that would have taken up 30 hours of my month, hours I simply didn't have. Usually I would have stuttered, made up a complex lie about a sick relative, and then eventually caved and said yes while crying in my car. But that day, something snapped. I looked the organizer in the eye, took a breath that felt like it came from my toes, and said, "I'm honored you asked, but I can't take this on right now. My plate is full." The silence that followed felt like a century. I expected lightning to strike me. I expected her to scream that I was selfish. But do you know what happened? And she just blinked, said, "Oh, I understand. Let me know if things change," and walked away to ask someone else. The world didn't end. Manhattan didn't sink into the Atlantic. I walked out of that room feeling 10 pounds lighter. That was the day I learned the art of the elegant no. You see, honey, no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a 5-paragraph essay explaining why you're prioritizing your own peace. When you explain, you're actually asking for permission to say no. But you don't need permission to own your life. Setting boundaries isn't about building a wall to hurt others. It's about building a gate to protect the garden inside you. And when you start saying no to the things that drain you, you finally have the space to say a resounding, beautiful yes to the things that actually matter. It's not selfish, it's survival. Here is the final graduation, the one that truly sets you free. Embracing the freedom of being disliked. I want you to step into your villain era, not the kind of villain who hurts people, but the kind who refuses to be controlled. And the truth is, some people will call you difficult the moment you stop being easy to use. Some will call you selfish because you finally stopped putting their whims above your needs. Let them. Their opinion of you is none of your business. It's a reflection of their own disappointment that they can no longer manipulate you. Honey, listen carefully. There is a deep, profound peace in knowing that someone, somewhere, thinks you're the bad guy in their story, and being perfectly fine with it. And it means you've finally drawn a line in the sand. You've decided that your self-respect is more valuable than their temporary approval. You aren't a good girl anymore. You're a grown woman who knows her worth. So the next time you feel that itch to please, that urge to apologize for simply existing, remember that rainy night in Manhattan. And don't wait for your heel to break, to realize you're in the wrong place. Walk away now, with your head held high and your boundaries intact. You're doing better than you think, and I am so proud of the version of you that is starting to say, enough. Your auntie loves you. See you next time, honey.